Hey, Cedric here. Just wanted to add another little tip for building strength. And now this idea can be carried over into any other aspect of exercise. Okay, if you have limited resources, then you make do with the things around you to improve and continue gaining strength. All right. So the idea here is that, say if your goal is to do 10 chin-ups, well, let's do chin-ups with a backpack with 5 pounds in it, or 10 pounds. So if you can do 10 chin-ups with that extra weight, you take that weight off, you're liable to be able to do 1 or 2 more, you know. Let's work above our goals, but do it safely. And in that instance, we don't have a pull-down machine where we can continue adding weight. So if we want to add resistance to gain strength faster, then we have to kind of think outside the box. So let's say that we want to gain strength in bending steel, but all we have available are 60D nails. That's all we can afford, alright? Because let's face it, bar steel isn't cheap. 3 foot for over $3 for just the 1/4 inch round bar. Alright? It's not inexpensive. I mean, and that's at Home Depot. Maybe you can get a better price if you go to, of course you can, go to a steel warehouse, you know, or a steelworks joint that sells steel. Then you can get a better deal. But how much are you going to buy to get a better deal than 10 cents for 6 inches, you know? So I'm just going to warm up a little bit. I'm not doing any bending today because old Rusty Stuff, he sent me a care package, so I want to stay fresh-ish. And like that, I'm really stoked and curious to see what he sent, you know. Last time he sent me some real exotic bending material that I wouldn't be able to get for myself. And they've made their way into what I call like my cornerstone or keystone event bends. The H rod and the I rod, and of course, so I went to Grip Ratings, which is run by Aaron Corcoran. It's a website, and you type Grip Ratings into Google, it'll come up for you. And then there's a steel ratings option where they've compiled this exhaustive list of bending material at different lengths and the poundage that it's rated at. And my friend Jared, old Rusty Stuff, he told me that that's calculated by putting a weight at the ends and having it braced in the center and adding weight until it kinks to 30 degrees. That's your kink, 30 degrees. So that grade 5 bolt that I have been struggling with is a 400 pounder. The grade 5 JH bolt is a 400 pounder. So it's no wonder that I've barely been able to wobble that little devil bolt, because that's 60 or 70 pounds above my current weight class. So I don't feel so bad now. I felt like maybe it was just some psychological issue. So as it pertains to bending here, we want to get more out of our steel, increase our strength, and get the most out of our steel. So recently I've been looking over at the Iron Grip website because Jared sent me this Iron Grip 110 kilogram bar, alright, and I want to certify on this with the Iron Grip rules. So I went over there to look at what kind of certifications they have, and I'll be doing freestyle on this one. Now for freestyle rating, it only 100 kilogram bars and above. I saw nothing lower than that. So I was thinking to myself, you know, they've got the lower bars over there, and if you want to you get a cert on those, then you have to do pads touching, which gave me the idea of working above my current area of strength using what I have available, right? So it is much more difficult to move the pads in where they touch. You lose leverage, of course, and it also takes the pain level up a good deal when you're bending with pads touching. So pads touching, all right, in the middle. Now look, how you gonna, it really takes it up a notch, the difficulty in bending, and it changes where it's going to contact your hand. The end of the steel is going to be right about there, I'm guessing, and it just makes the whole thing more difficult. Just the whole thing more. This isn't real bending. I mean, it is real bending, but I'm not going to really do a bunch of bending, just this once, like a junkie, right? I was talking about that. I'm justifying it in my mind now because I want to show you, and these nails normally would be pretty easy bend for me. And that's just way more difficult with those pads touching. Yeah. So that's going to be my new thing. I'm going to do my bends where I'm going to start moving those pads in closer and closer to each other, as close as I can, and then move it closer as I go. I'm going to make a video on that after I get Jared's stuff, about how I'm going to implement this into my routine. My main routine is about building strength safely and quickly, balancing those two things so that I get the most pluck for my buck. And so this is just the next stage. So that has to fit into it. Anything that I do has to fit into that dynamic, because I'm not willing to give up my safety for gains. So that was it. That was pretty much the deal as far as making what was an easy piece of steel more difficult, because nails are what I can afford, to bend. So moving those pads in takes away the mechanical advantage of the grip of the overhang on the wraps that you would normally have. So definitely kind of a next level using the same steel, and I can only assume that that's going to help to build strength. I was talking about thought stopping, and I might as well do that, since we're here. Thought stopping is an idea that got a lot of attention with people with obsessive personalities or borderline personalities. It's sort of an extension of cognitive behavioral therapy, the idea that our thoughts influence feelings. Alright, so we think something about something, which that thought causes chemicals to be released, which causes feelings, which causes behavior. So thought to feelings to behavior. And this is very rational once we set aside the idea of fixed cellular responses, okay? And I'm not going to go into that here. I'll save that for another time. The epigenomes, how trauma changes cells, okay, and how an environment will draw out of an organism what is necessary for the organism to survive that environment. All right. So fixed cellular responses aside, this is how it works: thoughts to feelings to actions, thoughts, feelings, behavior. So thought stopping is something. If we have a thought, okay, and if you're like myself, obsessive and addictive personality, then you will have a thought that grows in proportion in strength in your mind, and it will repeat on a loop until you give in, right? And again, all these justifications will be made. The lizard brain will take over that tiny little rational mind and just say, shut up, this is what we really want. We have to stop those thoughts before we get into a fixed pathway of behavior, before we get onto that point where the addiction is going to be satiated, the obsession is going to be satiated, where it has to, because this pressure has built to such a point where now we're on a fixed pathway of behavior. Thought stopping can be accomplished a lot of different ways, okay? I've seen some where am I at? Where a rubber band is used, a simple rubber band, worn around the wrist, okay? And when a thought begins to roll downhill, you know, like that snowball in the cartoon where it's just gathering everything up as it goes and getting bigger until the entire world is that snowball, that thought. Metaphors, gotta love them, right? No. So anyway, that thought, we snap this. Now, this is a control mechanism where we are now taking control over the physical aspect of our world, alright, by this movement. And this can help us. But we have to exert will at this time. Again, we have to be a willful presence in our own existence, in our own life. So, along with this, there's going to be a mental action, an action of will, where we say, in our mind, stop. And we force another thought into our mind to clear the mental palette, alright, the emotional and mental palette. An excellent one for me is count in my mind and focus on breathing. Alright, we've got two things that we're focusing on, breathing and counting. This leaves little room for anything else as long as we're focusing on this. So, in our mind we will count 1 when we breathe in. And when we breathe out, 2. And make that 2 last. We're using our inside, our mind voice. Okay, so it would be like 1, 2. Alright? And focus on the breathing and the counting. And drive the thought out. This works for me. It works with those things where when my defenses are weak, the voices are rising up, maybe environmental stressors, things going on, I'll find my defense is weakened. And if someone's like, I'm going to the store and someone's like, hi, how you doing? And I'm thinking, you know, that a-hole thinks I'm stupid. They just said hi to me. But my mind like snaps it as something different, right? Where I'll interpret these things through the eyes of a cornered creature, right? So, thought stopping. I want to stop that thought now because now it's spinning around in my head and it's gaining power, just like that snowball in the cartoon. You know, it's getting bigger, this avalanche, and that thought will begin emotions, and now those chemicals release, and we go into a variation of fight or flight, where it's a fixed pathway of behavior, fight or flight. Okay? There's also freeze, but again, we're not going to go into that. And I tend toward aggression, so I don't want that, right? So thought stopping. I scream in my mind, stop. And then I'll state the words, clean out your mind. Inside, using my mind voice. Clean out your mind. And then I will count with my breathing. And this helps, lowers my heart rate and blood pressure, allows me to move those obsessive thoughts out of the main area, pushes the lizard brain back down, engages the rational mind. Alright? And you can also do, and very unobtrusively, you can do a kind of a bilateral movement that will help as well while you're doing this. Alright? You see what I'm doing? Bilateral. Okay? We're going ahead and we're moving both sides. And this has been used with a lot of anxiety and trauma cases, and this is an offshoot of EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Alright? Where with bilateral eye movements and having a trauma revisited, where we introduce the traumatic event, there's been amazing breakthroughs, because this movement engages both sides of the brain and makes them communicate a little bit. This can help, alright, with these mental obsessions. You know, whatever it might be. I need the new, what are the video game systems? I need a new video game. I need a new video game. That thought going in here until you're willing to not buy milk, bread, and meat so that you can have a video game, or you know, whatever it might be, whatever those obsessive thoughts might be. I need to have a cigarette. I need to have a cigarette. We have to take the power away, because our mind, once that lizard brain starts grabbing a hold of the steering wheel, we will make those mental and emotional turns that will lead us up to fulfilling or satiating that addiction, that self-wasting prophecy. All right. We have to be a willful presence in our own existence. You must forge the steel of your spine hard and be a willful presence in your own life. I have to remind myself of this every day, and I am by no means a perfect practitioner of any of this. You guys can tell, you know, I'm 6 different kinds of messed up. I have schizophrenia, post-traumatic stress disorder, you know, a lazy eye, and I'm balding. I'm messed up, you know. I have poor people skills. I have difficulty interacting. So, you know, when my defenses get down, when I'm out around people, my defenses go down, the voices get loud, and life becomes a very literal hell for me. But I keep trying, and that's what it is, y'all. We keep trying. All right. Schizophrenia is a wasting disease. It's one that literally eats the person's brain. When brain mass has been measured on people who have had schizophrenia, you know, they're in their 40s or whatever, people who have schizophrenia, their brain mass is smaller. The brain gets eaten up. And I can only assume this is because people with schizophrenia, like I believed that the voices were outside of me, that these hallucinations came from somewhere else, till I had a realization, you know, that they were part of me and they were trying to tell me something. As messed up as the language is that they use, as terrible as the things that they say, there's a message within there that is from within me. And I stopped fighting that, but I think that fight is what devastates the mind. It makes the schizophrenic mind want to collapse in on itself and hide within the last little bastion of normalcy that might be available. So I make every effort not to fight, but to understand. And I think that maybe my mind won't be eaten up. I'm hopeful. The point is that we keep trying. We keep trying, we keep striving. Think above your station. Think above your station. Go for better. Whatever you want, whatever your better is, okay? Whatever your perfect world looks like. I want you to ask yourself that question, because it may help. It may help you be a willful presence in your life, as it has for me at times. What would your perfect life look like? Think about the thing in your life right now that is bothering you most, and ask yourself this question: what would my life look like without this problem? And try to build that life, okay? We can't change the world, but we can make our worlds better. We can. What is the thing that's bothering you most right now? What is it? And how would your life look? How would your life look without that problem? What would your life be like without that problem? I want you to ask yourself that question. And you are the best investment you can make. Okay, you really are. So I want you to be a willful presence in your life. Alright, do this with me. You all inspire me with your strength, you know, being able to forge on ahead through all these slings and arrows that life throws at us, all these pitfalls and pratfalls and dead ends and tricks. Let's do this together, you know. You all are survivors, and I can only benefit from walking along this path with you. Alright, so I guess that's it. You know, I don't want to keep you here. I just wanted to and invite you to try some ideas, you know, for working out, and also just talk a little bit about thought stopping and bilateral movement, you know, and never underestimate the palliative and curative powers of moving. So be good to yourselves, alright? You hold your heads up high and you live free, and always, always, always punch hard, alright? And you definitely be good to yourselves, because you are so worth it, and I dig you. And I'll catch you later. Bye.